Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another special episode of Herschel Talkers. Make sure to rate and describe and comment on our YouTube channel. Trying to get those subscribers up. Got a special guest, buddy of mine. Actually, just met him, Matt Lindsey, big Ohio State fan. He's trying to get into
Alex.
coaching. There you go. And
Oh,
welcome to the show. How are we doing today, Matt?
hey, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me, Trey.
No problem. Yeah, jumping right into it. Didn't have a podcast last week because of coronavirus. Georgia was supposed to play Missouri, and that got canceled. But wanted to briefly go over the Georgia-Florida game. Bad loss for the Dogs, 44-28. Kyle Trask pretty much lit us up in the first half. They put 38 points on us at halftime. We kind of had a shot in the second half, but I just think the lack of consistency from Stetson Bennett, and then we also had Juwan Mathis come in. I think we were 9 of 29 for 112 yards. Just terrible quarterback play, and Georgia, we were up 14-0, and Florida just came on and beat us. Big win for the Gators. That probably put us out of the SEC East, but it is what it is. But moving on to this week, Georgia is going to play Mississippi State, and the rumor is we're going to finally see JT Daniels, who's the 5-star transfer, finally. I hope to never see Stetson Bennett again. No offense to him. So I hope to see him this week. Georgia is about a 25-point favorite over Mississippi State, sorry, and 7:30 on SEC Network. They got Mike Leach, who's great on the mic. They come in with the air raid. I hope our defense is still banged up, but I hope we should be able to put some points on them. We're up favored by. I just hope JT Daniels can get in there. Matt, I know you probably not really follow. You probably don't follow the SEC. What's your thoughts on Georgia's being a neutral fan on the whole quarterback fiasco situation we've had, and what's been your
Well,
thoughts?
honestly, I've been following a little bit. We get a lot of, obviously all the games you guys get on ESPN and all that stuff. So I love watching. I don't know. It seems like it's just kind of a mess from everything that I've kind of seen and heard. It seems like there's really everything that nobody's really stepped up to take it. Stetson Bennett was good early on from what I saw, but then nobody's just really kind of just been flat. Hasn't really.
Yeah. He had a ceiling about here.
Yeah.
Yeah, just not making excuses for Kirby, but when you kind of look back over, it's like, all right, so Jake Fromm left as a junior, barely got drafted, unrestricted for fifth round, and he's on the practice squad with the Bills, so that was a bummer. He was what he was, but he's a pretty good quarterback. Then we had Jamie Newman. It's going to be grad transfer from Wake Forest. He opts out because of COVID virus, even though we think an agent got in his mind or he saw he was going to get beat out. So that's 2. Then we started Juwan Mathis for the first game against Arkansas. Lost, looked bad. So that's 3. Then we had to play our 4th stringer, Stetson Bennett. And then, you got JT Daniels. Everybody's asking about big 5-star transfer. So it's like, would any other team have problems? Like, for example, Ohio State, I know you guys are loaded, but if you're down to your 4th-string quarterback, you guys would probably have problems too. So it's just like it's a lot of moving doors. And
Yeah, for sure.
So it's been.
So what's the deal with Juwan Mathis? He's younger, right? Younger guy?
Yeah, he was redshirted last year. He had the brain tumor, and I think he was actually committed to you guys, and then I think he heard Justin Fields was coming.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Speaking of that, what did you ever think about Juwan Mathis? Maybe during his recruiting, did you like what you saw? Or I mean, I know he looks.
Oh, absolutely.
He looks great, but he looks. I don't know if he's lost to Georgia, but yeah.
It's always kind of tough, especially early on. They're still kind of developing from high school and trying to catch up and play at the speed of college, and every little hiccup in the road, especially for a younger player, that can really set you back, whether it's COVID, whether it's an injury, whether it's something like that. So it's definitely got to be harder for these younger guys stepping up, especially in a season like this. All these bumps in the road, stuff like that. So.
Yeah, it's definitely a weird year, but I still think, you did recruit and have all these guys that, you still need to try to put the best possible product on the field. I know there's a lot of distractions, but I'll go ahead and give a pick for this weekend. Talk about it back to this game real quick. I'm going to say 25. I'm going to say 38-10. Mississippi State, not the greatest defense. I just think we'll finally see JT Daniels. Even if we see JT Daniels maybe 200 yards, 2 touchdowns, hopefully he doesn't turn the ball over. Also a rumor of black jerseys for Georgia, which that's always exciting. So I'm going to say 38-10. But if we roll around with this guy, Mike Leach, who defenses have been shutting down. He lit up LSU the first game, 44-34. Everybody's like, all right, these guys are scary. But then, Kentucky held them to like 2. It just pretty much went downhill. They're 2-4. But I'm just glad to get another game in. Transition to Matt over here, his team. Huge game. Indiana against Ohio State. Looks like Buckeyes 20.5. This guy's a sore subject. I'll go ahead and bring him up. You guys got Justin Fields, who's just been throwing dimes and lasers. It's painful. I mean, first off, I completely agree with the kid. I wish he wouldn't have left Georgia. I know it was kind of a muddy situation, but, I mean, great kid. Wish the best for him. But you guys going against Indiana, who coming off last year, had a bad loss to I forget which bowl it was in, really small bowl against Tennessee. But, what's your thoughts on the Ohio State on the Buckeye side this year?
I mean, Indiana's kind of been a surprise team this year. Obviously, we see them at number 9 right now. I don't know that I believe that, don't get me wrong, I love Ohio State and trust them and everything else, but I think people are really sleeping on Indiana. They've always seemed to kind of fall apart, and they've put together some big wins. Granted, Penn State's not the same this year. Same with Michigan. Just they haven't been very good. But their quarterback, Michael Penix Jr., junior or senior, they have a lot of older guys on their team. Their wide receiving core is really good. Michael Penix Jr. is just a great athlete. He's going to be the reason that they're in this game. I don't necessarily see us winning by 20.5. I could see it being a little closer than that. Our defense has struggled a little bit, just kind of finding that identity. Linebackers have been playing fast, but we don't have the same D-line that we've had. We've had the Joey Bosa, Nick Bosa, Chase Young, that just going in and out, and we don't really have one of those guys that stepped up yet this year. So it'll be kind of interesting to see who's going to step up against this explosive Indiana offense.
Yeah, I watched Ohio State just because with Fields, but does he look better coming from Ohio State guy? I know you follow quarterbacks. Does he look better than he did last year? And also, I wanted to ask this. I read this article the other day. I was talking about Ryan Day said Justin Fields had some things to work on. He come in a little rough around the edges, and that we were able to kind of groom him the way we wanted. Did you hear that? And how about the whole evolution? Justin Fields coming into Ohio State from Georgia.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, obviously he's a great athlete. He's a great quarterback. To get to Georgia, be recruited that highly out of high school. Obviously, he's an incredible athlete, an incredible quarterback. I would say the biggest thing, I did hear that he was a little rough around the edges from Ryan Day. I think the biggest thing was making him feel more comfortable in the pocket, being more of a pocket passer. And I would say he has improved in that area this year. I'm trying to think. He's got something, I want to say like 10 incompletions or something like that, like all year. What is that, 11? There you go.
Yeah, 72-83, which is crazy.
And, I've seen some I think Ohio State posted this video of like 6 balls that really could have been caught, whether it was a good hit, whether it was just dropped. So his accuracy has been on point. He really has improved in that area, just in terms of being a thrower of the football. Because I think ultimately that's what's going to get him to the next level and be great at the next level. Obviously, there are guys like, Kyler Murray and Russell Wilson and guys who can kind of run around and make something happen with their feet. But I think Ryan Day wanted to develop him a little bit more to be more comfortable in the pocket, and he's seen more time now. So obviously he's just more comfortable against the pass rush, good quality opponents, things like that. So he definitely has improved in my eyes.
Yeah, he's, of course, jealous. Wish he could have stayed at Georgia. But So I know Justin Fields is going to probably get him one more year. What are you guys looking like down the road, and who's on your bench, and who might be the man next year at quarterback?
So right now we just kind of have some backups, some graduate transfers, things like that. Mostly as our backups. Now we do have Jack Miller, who was one of the top recruited quarterbacks in this past freshman class. So he's a freshman now. He got some playing time the other day, as well as there's another quarterback out of
About C.J. Stroud. Is he a name?
Huh?
C.J. Stroud?
C.J. Stroud, there you go. Yep. And he's another – those two have been kind of going back and forth, Jack Miller and C.J. Stroud.
Yeah.
And so, that's going to be interesting to see. Miller's a smaller guy, freshman, but he's also, versatile, can run the ball too.
So let's just say, God forbid, I don't want the kid to get hurt. Let's say he goes down with ankle injury, concussion. Who's the first man out? Let's say you guys are tied. Indiana gets knocked out of the game. Fields gets knocked out. Who's your guy, you think? If you had to pick your opinion or who you would want to see. Sorry.
That's tough. I think they might roll with the senior. What I think Gunnar Hoke is the backup he was at Kentucky and he graduate transfer.
Right.
Because he's got more experience. But I don't know. That would be an interesting play because Jack Miller did get in, 2 weeks ago now. It was supposed to be a kneel down, and they ended up just doing a quarterback sneak, and he scored a touchdown.
Right.
So could be interesting. I don't know. There's really a lot of options, and it is an interesting storyline kind of because Justin Fields is the obvious number one.
Yeah. Yeah. And another question is, I know Ryan Day was a Urban Meyer disciple. Urban Meyer got you guys won 2014, right? 2015.
Yeah, it was 2014, 2015.
So do you think he has more upside, Ryan Day, or were you happy? Because I know a lot of people when Urban left, they're like, "Oh, Ohio State's going to be down," and you guys didn't miss a lick at all. You guys were rolling, and you guys, except for penalties. I'm being a biased fan. You guys maybe should have won that Clemson game. It was really close. I know that was sensitive on the penalties, but do you think Ryan Day is a step up? Do you see him trending up, or how do you see him compared to like Urban Meyer?
Definitely he's on pace to be there. I think Buckeye Nation and Ohio State is such a passionate fan base. You're not really, especially in a day where social media is so important, everybody has an opinion and a place to share that opinion.
Right.
You're not just going to go out and hire somebody willy-nilly who doesn't necessarily have the experience. I was a little caught off guard just because he wasn't necessarily a household name. But I think obviously they felt enough confidence in Ryan Day. The fact that he had been there and sat behind Urban Meyer for so long, he just kind of learned his ways, learned everything that made the program so great, as well as his own nuances from, his days in the NFL and coaching with Chip Kelly and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, how about this? And since you're inside the program, I'm sure you got your ear down to the ground. What do you think the real reason was, looking back on it, you think Urban left? Was it medical issues? Was there something going on in the program? Your opinion, why you think he left?
I would say, from what I heard, and I really believe it, it was just tough because people felt so much confidence in Ryan Day as a coach. And so people didn't want him to leave. Right. But also Urban was he struggled with the fact of going into recruits' homes and saying, hey, I'm going to be I want to be your coach for the next 4 years. We're going to be in contact for the next 4 or 5 years. And Urban didn't necessarily see himself sticking around that long.
Yeah.
So I think it was as good a time as any. Ryan Day was, the guy. They felt super confident in him. He had a couple of years to be kind of groomed and learned from Urban. And there's a lot of coaches who have been there for a while too. Tony Alford, the running backs coach, and, Mickey Marotti, the strength and conditioning guy. They're just guys that have kind of been there for a while that really keep the train moving, keep that same energy and attitude in the building and that winning mentality. So I think that kind of just allowed Ryan Day to slide right in and fit nicely.
Yeah. Okay. And looking at your guys' schedule, do you believe this is the last I know you got to play all the games, the last test, because we'll get into it. Michigan's obviously down, Michigan State. Do you think if you get over this, clear
Yeah,
pathway to.
Honestly, I was thinking this was going to be a tough little stretch here with Maryland and Indiana. Maryland looking pretty good, but obviously that game got canceled last weekend.
Yeah.
I do kind of think so. I think they probably have the most explosive offense of anybody left. Michael Penix is definitely the best quarterback that they have left to play. But you can never really count out Michigan in that game just because that's a huge rivalry game. You know, one of the biggest rivalries in all of college sports. So,
You guys pretty much owned them, though. What is it? What, they beat you once or twice in 20 years? Just saying.
something like that.
Is it a rivalry anymore? I know they say it is. It's not like a beatdown. Just saying.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, Michigan has this is Harbaugh's first quarterback and Joe Milton that he's really gotten to play other than Shea Patterson and some of these other guys that they've kind of had in the turnstile playing quarterback. But I don't know. It's always a rivalry game, but I think Indiana will probably be our biggest test remaining for the rest of the season.
Who would you have to pick if you had to say who you'd play in the Big Ten championship?
Man, Northwestern's looking pretty good right now.
Yeah, what is it with them? Their defense is scrappy? Is that what it is?
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of the same thing with them year in and year out. Always a solid, physical, tough, scrappy defense, and run the ball. You kind of have to do that up here in these cold, Midwestern winters. Got to do the old ground and pound. But, I don't know. I'm not totally sold on Wisconsin yet either. I know they have the freshman Graham Mertz, who
played like 2 games too, right? Which is crazy.
Yeah. And he was like perfect. He was like 20 of 21 or something for his first game. Yeah. Pretty incredible, but I think they played like Illinois or something like that.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I'd say probably Northwestern.
Right.
But I don't know that that's necessarily.
So you think it'd be Ohio State, Northwestern, in the Big Ten championship? Is that what it's looking like?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Okay, cool. Yeah, transitioning into we'll talk a little college football playoffs. So the rankings looking like currently, depends on which poll you look at, Alabama, Notre Dame. Notre Dame getting that big win over Clemson, but no Trevor Lawrence because of COVID. You guys, Ohio State. How do you see you guys matching up against the elite here, and who would you want to play? Or
honestly, I would love a shot at Notre Dame because I can't stand Notre Dame. But I think we match up well against a lot of them. To be honest with you, I think our offense is so explosive that we could score with any of them.
Right.
Our defense definitely has to take a step up, but I also don't know that anybody necessarily has a world-class defense this year that I'm necessarily terrified of.
Right.
Definitely confident in the offense. Our wide receiving group is deep. And I just think our D-line is pretty inexperienced. We have a bunch of senior linebackers and Sean Wade playing cornerback, kind of anchoring the back end. I don't know. I would like to play Notre Dame, but it would be nice to have a little revenge at Clemson too.
Yeah, if I had to be a neutral, I'd say these guys are staying. It's just Alabama.
Oh yeah,
I could see them beating these guys as SEC championship game, 2 or 3 scores, just because their defense is not there. I know Bama's defense is down, but Mac Jones, he'll just pick you apart. I know they don't have Waddle, but they have Devontae Smith, and you have he slips my mind, the running back for Alabama. I should know that.
Najee Harris.
Yeah, Najee Harris. They're just elite. That offensive line is probably the best in the nation. So anyway, I'd say they beat them. So they'll stay here. I could see Clemson. Hard to beat a team twice. It's going to be in Charlotte, probably a little cold and rainy. Trevor Lawrence will be back. You're going to have – hard to beat a team twice. So I think they'll beat Notre Dame. So I think that would slide. If it's really close, I could see Notre Dame getting that 4th spot. So I think you guys would probably play Clemson if I had to bet right now in a rematch.
Yeah.
Trevor Lawrence. Their defense is young and people have been to score on them. So I think that's whoever gets to 40 can hold them under 40. I see that thing being really close between you guys, Ohio State. And then it would be Alabama, Notre Dame. See Alabama winning by 10-14. And then you guys would, play Alabama, in my opinion. Could be wrong. Could be some injuries, but if I had to pick, that's the way I see it.
Yeah. No argument here.
So I guess next we can talk a little. This is always interesting for me. Let's see, talk a little hot seat. Trying to get that screen up. Let's see. It's a funny thing. So the big thing is, I don't think he's on there. Will Muschamp got fired from South Carolina. I've heard 3.5 million for 4 to 5 years. I heard north of 15 million. They were 2-5, 4-8 last year. They did beat Georgia, which was a terrible game for us. But that was the big name of the week. Other one on your side, Big Ten land. How about this dude? What's the rumor with him? And does he make it by the end of the year? Currently, what, 1-3?
Yeah, he's like what? I think he's like 1-6 at home against Michigan State and Ohio State. Hasn't beaten us, so I don't know. I don't see them firing him in the middle of the year.
Yeah.
I could see if he beats an Ohio State team at the end of the season, that buys him a little more time. But I don't know. A name I'm surprised to not see on here is Penn State, James Franklin, unless I'm missing him totally.
Yeah. I don't think he's on there, but I was going to mention him too, being 0-4. I mean, previously, I guess he's done pretty successful. What's your thoughts, in Big Ten land over there? You think COVID year, give him a pass? I don't know what the buyout is.
This year is tough just because he's had, he lost. Let me see. So Micah Parsons, their best defensive end, opted out for COVID in the draft. And he was going to be their best player, the anchor of that defense.
Yeah.
And then they lost their 2 stud running backs. Journey Brown had to medically retire, and Noah Cain's also out for the year. So they're definitely missing some key pieces.
Right.
I think the thing is that he's never really developed. He's never really recruited a stud quarterback. I don't know that he didn't really. Sean Clifford is nothing special in my eyes. Trace McSorley was pretty good, but I'm nobody that's really taken that next step. That's been a top tier. So I think that's kind of been a struggle, but obviously this is kind of a tough year with all these guys injured and opting out, things like that. So.
Yeah, I think he's built one pretty solid. 9-10 wins the last couple of years. I think maybe give him a pass after this year. But if he has another, I don't know, 6-6, 7-5 Penn State next year, I think he probably gets a little warm. But depends on how he finishes up. But if he goes, what do you guys play? 8 games. If he goes like 1-7, 0-8, depends on if you lose the team. I don't know what the buyout is. That's interesting. I think Harbaugh's done. I agree by the end of the year. And I know you hate Michigan. But if you were in the Michigan seat, like who would you maybe look at? Any names you've heard? Or I think he goes back to the NFL. He was successful in the NFL, but
yeah, I don't know. I mean, honestly, I'm not really sure on the whole who would even fill in because that's just such a tradition-rich program.
Yeah.
You can't go out and hire anybody. I don't know. I mean, there are some names just like Coastal Carolina's doing really well this year.
Yeah.
People keep talking about like Hugh Freeze, but he just signed a huge deal at Liberty, and I don't know.
He's getting like $3 million a year. I looked that up, which is crazy. I mean,
yeah,
small little. Well, I guess it's not small. I think it was like 45,000 undergrad, but it's like a private college. They're bigger, yeah. But yeah. Well, on the South Carolina end, going back to that, I think I've been hearing Billy Napier, which is Louisiana Cajun.
Yeah, Louisiana. Yep.
And they beat, I think, Iowa State earlier in the year. Top 10 team. Already puts up some points. I've also been hearing Shane Beamer, which is Frank Beamer's son. He said that would be a dream job. But, I mean, I'm a Georgia fan. I'll be brutally honest. Like, South Carolina is a second-tier program. I mean, they're 7-5, 8-4 in a good year. I mean, you had the Spurrier years where they won 10 or 11 games. They played an SEC championship game. All those are – it's just hard to recruit against Georgia and Clemson. You're kind of in the middle. So I think you got to know your ceiling there. Another one that is interesting because they keep getting restless is Tom Herman. They keep saying Texas is back, but, they're not in the playoffs.
They haven't really won a big game.
Yeah. I mean, they beat us a couple years ago. But a lot of our guys opted out. We weren't into that game. It was a Sugar Bowl. It's like kind of like how motivated were those guys? No one's really motivated anymore, which is sad in the bowl games. Kind of like you're in the playoffs. You're like, eh. So But it'll be interesting. Like Texas just seems like it has all the facilities. You have the money, you have the great recruiting, fertility there in that state. So um, just interesting. Yeah, one thing I wanted to ask you, you have a quarterback and offensive coordinator background. How do you see what's happened in the last couple of years? And Saban even said it. Defense doesn't win anymore. That you have to have elite offense, and you still have to have pretty good defense. How do you see the whole evolution of the offense this year?
Oh, I mean, definitely. Just you see all the guys getting hired in the NFL or in college. Majority of them are offensive-minded guys. They're creative. Motion before pre-snap motion. Whether it's creative route running, whether it's different combinations, whether it's different formations. There's just so much that you can do to throw off a defense. And then top it all off, if you have a good quarterback who can kind of, do a pre-snap, just make his reads. You can tell who's blitzing, who's going to drop back. When you have somebody who can do that so confidently, it makes your job as a coach that much easier, and you can it's easier to plan, game planning. Just explosion is the biggest thing. I think speed has become so important. It's not necessarily about who's the biggest anymore. Tyreek Hill's one of the best receivers in the NFL, and I don't even think he's 6 feet, Yeah. So.
Yeah, I think it's just that whole dual threat quarterback, being 6'3", 6'4", he can run around Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence can run around, Joe Burrow. Last year, that's what really set him apart. Kyle Trask is great this year, but I think he's more of a statue. I don't know how he might transition over into, NFL, but Joe Burrow's to me, even though Kyle Trask is looking at it, has a couple more touchdowns compared to Joe Burrow at this time of the season, which is interesting.
Well, I think it'll be interesting too to see kind of who's going to be the next coach that tries to incorporate the read option type in the NFL. Because Claude did it when he had Colin Kaepernick, who was, Colin Kaepernick was huge. He was 6'5", 6'6".
Yeah, kid run. Yeah.
And I mean, that's really all he could do. He was so fast. He had a rocket arm, but no real accuracy.
Yeah.
So you see guys like, Lamar Jackson in Baltimore, and they're kind of doing things with multiple tight ends or 3 running backs on the field or 2 quarterbacks.
Right.
So it's just kind of innovative things like that. It's getting a scheme and having all the guys on your team to kind of buy in, and also recruiting and getting the same kind of guys that match what you're trying to do, your identity, whether it's be fast or if you're trying to be physical and run people over.
Yeah.
Biggest, strongest guys, and go do it,
I agree. Yeah. Yeah, and then lastly, talk a little recruiting here. Georgia actually picked up a big recruit today. There we go. 5-star offense or 5-star linebacker, Smile Munden, which is an interesting name, but 27 overall in 2021 class compared on 247, 3rd overall. So this is a big guy. Only negative, I think he moves around really good. He plays from running back, but I do think he was coming off his 3rd or 4th game, had torn ACL. So I don't know if he's already had surgery. So hopefully he's a quick recover. But if they go ahead and get it going, maybe he'll be ready by the summer or the spring. So that was definitely a big get. It bumped up Georgia to number 5 overall. We passed Clemson, and look at these guys right here, number 2, which you guys have been pretty. You got 4 stars. So looking at your class, anybody you're really excited about you guys picked up?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Jack Sawyer and Travion Henderson are 2 of the bigger names. Donovan Jackson's just going to be a beast on the O-line. I think it will be interesting to see, we're pretty deep at wide receiver right now. But guys like, our wide receiver coach is Brian Hartline, former NFL wide receiver. Just great recruiter. And it'll be kind of interesting to see how they move forward going after wide receivers and quarterbacks, because we're
about this Kyle McCord guy. Is he solid? You see anything on him? He's 5-star.
Yeah, no, I'm excited about Kyle McCord for sure. Definitely just kind of a bigger guy, obviously. Oh, you're just hoping he develops now. It's kind of
Who's he remind you of? Anybody remind you of? You had to say comparison.
Uh, I feel like
We can see. Let's see. They usually have a comparison right here. Who's this? Oh, Matt Stafford.
there you go.
See that? Can he move around a little bit? Is he mobile or?
Yeah, little movement, but definitely more of a comfortable in the pocket kind of guy.
Okay.
Bigger, thick. So again, it's just kind of hoping he develops. The thing is, a lot of the Ohio State coaches don't really care about the rankings. I mean, I'm sure it's similar at Georgia. They don't really care what website puts them at 5 stars or what, they're always going to go off their eyes and what, if they're going to be the best player in the district, best player in the conference, and you got to do more than just one thing. You can't just be a good football player. You got to play other sports. You got to be involved too. So these guys are great athletes, and that'll be exciting to see in the future how they all fully develop.
Yeah, looks like a really nice class. You guys got any more you're working on? It looks like you got 20. Do you know what limit there is? 20. I know you can get maybe 25, 23. I don't know. It depends on the class.
Yeah, I'm trying to – normally it's 25, I think, but I think we might be a little over this year.
Right.
Or like we have guys that have already either committed or something like that. So I think our numbers are a little lower this year.
Right. So you guys have been pretty loaded. I know Bama's number 1 as usual. They got 5 4-stars. We got 3. So it's the usual suspects. Ohio State's, Clemson's, LSU. Sounds like LSU's got some problems there everywhere.
Sure.
Anything you wanted to bring up or any questions for me?
I kind of want to hear about. We talked about it briefly, but what do you think about this whole quarterback thing at Georgia? I keep reading about. There's obviously there's Stetson Bennett, there's Dwan Mathis, there's JT Daniels.
Sure.
What's the feel of the room? You're wanting them to develop, but you're not really developing. Is that?
Yeah, the way I see it is, being a Georgia first game, we heard Dwan Mathis leading into the Arkansas game, right? And we're thinking Arkansas, terrible last year, new coach. We're like, we're going to blast them. It was, I think it's 28 point spread. So, but anyway, Mathis starts out the game just off, like missing receivers, throws a pick in the red zone. It's 7-5 at halftime, right? And you're like, this is Arkansas on the road, garbage. And right before half, they come in, and I almost had a meltdown. I was watching it with a friend who's a big Georgia fan here, and I was like, what in the hell is Stetson Bennett coming out here? I didn't even know he made the bus, 4th string, and I'll give it to him. He led him to the win, got hot, over 200 yards. But I just after that, I'm like, we're in trouble. Like, we play Alabama on the road the 4th game, and this is who we're trotting out there. And the whole thing leading into it, like JT Daniels is a 5-star transfer. We had the Jamie Newman opt-out. So that was going on. And every week it was like, is Daniels ready? Is Daniels ready? You'd hear his brace come off. Okay, great. We beat Auburn. We beat Tennessee. We're slowly kind of rolling. The defense is playing well, but I knew – there was a ceiling for Stetson Bennett, and God bless him. And he's 5'9", whatever he was. He did the best that he could, but you knew he was going to get exposed. Got exposed in the second half of the Alabama game. Kentucky game was like watching a big old bowl of vanilla. I hate to bring up Big Ten 12 o'clock football. It's like Northwestern, Iowa, or Wisconsin back in the day. Just lean on them and run the ball. That's what that was. And then, he had problems and struggled against Florida. And it's kind of like you have to have elite quarterbacks this year. And I feel like the dig on Kirby is, can't get these quarterbacks right. Had the whole thing with Fields, which coming looking back on, it's like, all right, Jake Fromm his freshman year led him to a national title, almost winning. We're a play away. So in that second year, you get Fields coming on campus, and it's like, are you going to bench the guy? The guy's still doing pretty well his second year. And you maybe could have pulled and put Fields in, but our offensive coordinator, Chaney, wasn't great. And then that junior year was Coley, who was terrible. So I almost feel like if Fields did stay, he would still struggle because, it's all about the X's and O's. It's like you can set up a guy and then to be critical of Fields, like he's great now, but what we were always noticing at Georgia, he would stare down his first receiver and pull it and run.
Yeah.
I feel like with you guys, he's sitting back there and he's looking at all his progressions, his targets. So that could be, Ryan Day and your OC. You're better than
I
him.
mean, that's just aging. It's just him maturing as a quarterback, getting more comfortable.
Yeah, and I think the scheme you guys run is more of dual and dual threat, and the offense you run. So that's why you guys are putting up. Haskins had 50 touchdowns. So it's almost like you guys are just like quarterback you, and it was just a great fit. But like I went back earlier, I said, Fields leaving, not Fields, I'm sorry, Fromm leaving he should have stayed. I would have taken him. Probably don't beat Alabama, probably beat Florida, hopefully, everything going on. And then you had, Jamie Newman leaving, which is still a head scratcher. You just had this big, like, 4 or 5 quarterback, carousel, and we're kind of stuck. And I'm kind of looking at it as JT Daniels, if he can finish strong these last 3 or 4 games we get to play in the bowl game. And then we have a 5-star Brock Vandergriff coming in who looks really good. He's from a smaller school there, but 6'3", 215. He can run around. Got a really good arm. He's got like 26 touchdowns, 10 rushing touchdowns. He looks really good. And I feel like you'll have JT Daniels and you have a true freshman. Maybe you could redshirt him, but play under him. They can battle, and we're looking good for next year. So I just hope we don't cash it in and we can win these games down the stretch, maybe end up 8-2 and go to a decent bowl, But we pretty much know that the season's over. Florida's going to win the East, so kind of just playing for next year pretty much.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So, yeah, JT Daniels this week. I hope he starts. Oh, yeah, and I forgot. Give me a pick for your Buckeyes against Indiana. I didn't ask you that. 20.5-point spread. What's your pick there? Your score prediction.
Let's see. Score prediction. I'll go. I feel like it's probably going to be pretty high scoring. Let's go 50-38.
Oh, wow. Okay. Hey, take the over if you're the better, right?
Oh, yeah, I think so.
All right, man. Anywhere anybody can follow you? Are you on social media, or I know you had your Instagram? Anything you're working on, or?
Yeah, follow my Instagram. It's Coach Matt Lindsey.
Okay.
Haven't been super active on there, but looking to get back on there and
Sure.
Shoot me some questions. Always down to talk football.
Okay, cool, man.
No.
Yeah, follow him at Coach Lindsey on Instagram. We're on try to post on Facebook. We got our YouTube page there, Herschel Talkers. So like and subscribe. And Matt, appreciate you coming on today.
Awesome. Thanks, Trey. Thanks for having me.
No problem, man.